Welcome to the KISC My Health Radio show series on Building Fortunes Radio. KISC My Health is brought to you by the universally recognized Cranberry King, Captain Cran Man, Stephen Lukawski. Over the past 30 years, Stephen has worked with North American dietary supplement companies in the nutraceutical industry. His efforts and connections generate ingredient sales through innovative delivery systems and effective marketing and brand management strategies. Today on KISC My Health, Stephen is joined by guest host Peter Mingils. Make sure you check out previous KISC My Health episodes at www.buildingfortunesradio.com or KISCMyHealth.com. Along with our marketing partners, we are here to help our customers improve their health, build their businesses, and make the world a better place. At KISC My Health, we know how much your health and your business means to you and the people important to you. So spread the word, tell another friend, join our newsletter, and go make a difference in your world. Now, on to our show with your hosts, Captain Cran Man and Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You're listening to us on Building Fortunes Radio. This is our special KISC My Health Radio show, and KISC means something to me. We started doing some stuff with something we call the Keep It Simple Circle. I invited a friend, Stephen Lukawski, to join us because I was having a situation where we were doing a memorial for a gentleman named James Gormley. I'm going to get into that in a second, but Stephen immediately grabbed it and says, we're going to do one on KISC My Health, and I thought that was really super great. So I'm going to try to keep my introduction kind of short, but there might be some first-time listeners on this that may have never heard us before. And Building Fortunes Radio has been around for a ton of time. Started off, if you will, with some great guest hosts. I want to pay a tribute to Jim Turner from Citizens for Health. Citizens.org is their website. And James Gormley. Both people, believe it or not, were great hosts on Building Fortunes Radio, and then they passed away. So I called Stephen just to kind of let him know that, and we were going to do a memorial, and that sprung into this conversation of, wait a minute, we should always memorialize great people, but there's so much more that's out there and so many people that we're exposed to that can do such a great message for our Building Fortunes Radio listening audience. So we're doing this radio show on Thursdays at noon for those people listening in Eastern Time, and you can always catch us on KISCMyHealth.com. Now, Stephen moves fast, so we're doing the same thing, so we're building out that website as we go. KISC is KISC, so it's KISCMyHealth.com, and if you go to buildingfortunesradio.com, you'll be able to find it there as well. But he's made a commitment to bring some really great guests, and I'll share with you, we could run a Jerry Lewis-type telethon with this person who is his very first guest. I mean, I don't think I ever want it to end. We'll wear her out. I mean, I would like to listen to everything she has to say in all one radio show. So we're going to have her come back. But Stephen's going to do a great introduction, and I can't wait. And this is going to go so fast. But this is someone you'll want to grab a pen or paper, write down her name, anything else that she's going to reference. We'll make sure that she's got a guest page as well. But this is someone you have to know. And if she writes a book, you have to read it. I mean, if she does a podcast, you have to listen. She's got a wealth of information. She's a really cool person. We were kind of chatting before we got started with the radio show, and I'm all over this. So Stephen Lukawski, the Cranberry King, Captain Cran Man, welcome to Building Fortunes Radio, the KISC My Health Radio show.
Thank you, Peter. I hope everybody out there is having a fantastic day so far. Peter, I think it's important for the listeners to understand why we're doing this show, what they're going to get from it, and the criteria of all these people that we're going to be listening to. And I am so super excited to be introducing our first guest. All right, and before I do, though, I just want people to understand why this guest is here. And so the show really is about giving back. It's recognizing superstars, can-do stars, we'll call them, transformational leaders, difference makers, people who actually in the nutraceutical world have stepped up beyond the call of duty, not just doing a job, but taking their passion and aligning with the stars, coming out and shining a bright light of all their accomplishments and their achievements. But the important thing is, not every journey is a success story without adversity. Everyone has to go through trials and tribulations. We all face challenges. So these superstars, what they have done is overcome these challenges, have broken down the walls, They have a can-do personality. Nothing can stop them. They're in this circle, and that's one of the reasons why we did this show, was to help people stay in the circle. So KISC for me is Key Influencers Super Champions of the nutraceutical industry, where they are recognized and they have a platform to be able to tell their journey, share their story, how they were able to succeed, and who inspired them, because everyone has a leader in front of them, a mentor that actually we can learn from, and not just fast track, but be able to sit down and discuss the challenges, the problems. How do we deal with it? These people have done that already, so they're inspirational to us. So everybody out there needs to find a mentor. And today we have, I'm so excited about it, we have, I would think, for me, one of the best mentors in the industry for women and for men, but I am so excited to introduce Karen Howard. And Karen, welcome to the show, the superhero, super guest of the first episode of KISC My Health. Thank you for joining us, Karen.
Thank you for having me. What a wonderful introduction.
Oh, you don't understand. I'm so excited about you being here. I said this like 2 or 3 times already, but because you've earned it. And to be our super guest hero that stood out, I thought this is a nice way to say thank you for everything you've done, Karen. And I know I'm not the only person saying thank you. I'm saying it for a lot of people out there. And we are so excited to hear your story, your journey, what got you into the nutraceutical business, how you started. And, I want to hear right back, to you playing, being in high school even. I remember we had talked on the golf course, and for those who do not know this, Karen Howard is an exceptional golfer, all right? And she could weather the storm. Because do we ever have to put up a storm at that blueberry harvest 3 weeks ago? And, with the weather conditions. Oh, and you are a champion, not just in your career, but, in the social world, and your personal life. You've really reached out to a lot of people to show them that anything is possible, and to do what you put your mind to. And I think one of your quotes from your book, which you're going to be talking about, where upset is optional, as you said, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And I love that, because
Thank
for
you.
me, that I would like you to give us a little background on your journey using that quote, how you do one thing is how you do everything, because you have arrived on the stage for everybody out there who's just starting out in this industry to really be inspired and learn from. Thank you for coming on the show, Karen.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I mean, and thank you for the blueberry harvest. That was quite an amazing thing. And you talk about how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you look at what Fredor has done when it comes to, I haven't seen cranberries yet, but when you look at the level of expertise and care and passion that goes into that work, that's a perfect example of how when you do one thing right and you continue to do it with that kind of informed personal consent to give yourself approval to care so much, really makes a huge difference in the world. Like you're putting out an incredible product and you're doing it for the sake of the ground itself. So that's what I mean by when you do one thing right, like that's how you do everything. And if you walk through the world with the belief that you can affect change, you certainly will.
Well, I believe that it's never too late to change your life, and you've shown this, through your leadership skills. And we can change the world, and we don't have to do great things. We just have to do the small things great out there, and they're stepping stones. And you created your own footprints in the sand, and you started out and in this industry. And I would like you to let the listeners know what got you into the nutraceutical world to begin with.
It's just so, like everything else that's good seems to happen when you're ready for it. But I have been in Washington, D.C. now for over 40 years, and I started off as a congressional staffer on a committee. And it was incredible. I mean, I had this amazing opportunity to develop a solution set and bring it to a table of some of the most amazing brains to fix a problem. And it was a life lesson that I've never forgotten. Like, don't lose your voice. Go find the expertise to make your case, and then make yourself vulnerable. My partner in crime and I were in our early 20s. We didn't have the background that these guys had sitting around the table, and yes, they were almost all men, but we solved a problem and enabled Congress to move forward on a big piece of legislation that was important for them. And I took that with me, and then I went into the managed care industry, not by choice per se, but it just took me there. I was an advocate for mental health issues at the American Psychiatric Association, and I kind of got snatched up by the glow of the money. And I was at the beginning of managed health. So it was exciting, and there was a lot of work at the state level. There were a lot of contracts. I learned a lot. I certainly learned about how business works on the private side, and I was working for Beltway bandits. And at one point, I made a decision, and it was right after 9/11, that I just couldn't do it anymore, and I quit. It's not the last time I've quit my job. And lo and behold, that's what I mean by, when you open yourself up to the universe, the next thing that appeared at my footsteps was an almost bankrupt nonprofit association of naturopathic physicians, a task I'd never worked on or heard about, never run an association before, and I took it and ran with it for 10 years.
Congratulations on that. Right. And so 40 years in Washington, but you're a Missouri girl. You started out in Springfield, Missouri.
Headed back there next week.
Wow, the home of the most storage lockers in the United States.
This I did not know. I am a Missouri girl.
Or Family Dollar stores, right?
Yeah, well, I believe it. I still go back. It's my retreat to go back to Table Rock Lake. My brother and sister-in-law are there with their kids, and it's when I'm there, I refer to D.C. as home, and when I'm here, I refer to Missouri as home.
Well, I've been through Springfield. I've certainly enjoyed it, and they've got a great football team there in Springfield, great college, a lot of good students coming out of there, and I'm sure they're heading in our industry, and so I know it's well known for food and beverage companies and IT. So you come from a champion of a lot of successful companies out there.
Yes, well, I am the daughter of a used car dealer, so we do have that going for us as well.
Okay, awesome. So you've got sales going through your blood.
I actually did, no doubt about it. But
no,
differently, that was the odd one out. I was the kid who worked with handicapped kids all through junior high and high school. I was going to be a special ed teacher.
Wow. Well, there you go. So I know with Peter, he was telling me about how he started with Electrolux, knocking on doors. All right, to and from selling the vacuums, and those were the days, and where you had to hard knocks. You had to start from the ground up. You had to go out there and create your footprints in the sand that way, and but it really taught us some life lessons, and I would like to have you share with the listeners life lessons that you've been able to pick up and be able to go through and be a better Karen Howard for it.
Well, I mean, when you start, the first time I ran for office, I was in second grade, and it was safety council. I'll never forget it. And I continued to run for office and do things like that all through college. I was the second female speaker of the House of Representatives at Mizzou. So I had it in my blood. I still have it in my blood. Not exactly sure where it came from. I'm the only one in my family that feels this way about politics. So it led me into some really bizarre places, like a job where I was the sales tax auditor for the state of Missouri for a year. I was really good at it and hated it every day. But my journey just kind of grew at sort of this weird speed. I mean, it's like I started gathering all these skills and really didn't have a very good idea of what I wanted to do until one day I decided when I was lobbying for the psychiatrist that I wanted to be a chef. My father picked up the phone and called me. It was one of 2 times he ever called me at work and said, "No, you are not going to go to chef school." I was like, wait a minute. Nobody's ever said no to me before. Like, what is this? I don't think anybody had ever said no to me. But I did not go to chef school. So there you go.
There you go. Well, you were destined for greater things, and mind you, I to all the chefs out there, thank you so much, because I'm a foodie, and I certainly love to go out there and fine dine and enjoy life, and so that's always a nice hobby or interest to take up on the side, with
right.
everyone out. So, but we talk about mentors, influencers, and we're all meet somebody along the way, and I would like to know who influenced you the most as you got into this industry, and what can you say about that person?
When I took over as the executive director for the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians, I had the benefit and tutoring of a man by the name of David Madison, who's in the Seattle area, and is still a very, very dear friend. And I never would have made it through the entire experience, especially in the beginning when it was such a steep learning curve and such a different culture than I had ever been exposed to. So I credit David with saving my skin many more times than I can count, including introducing me to Bob Duggan, who became probably the most significant presence in my adult life that I will ever have. And he is, of course, the inspiration for the book Upset Is Optional. So, and along the way as well, I mean, my friend Rebecca Takamoto has been my meeting planner for 22 years, and she was one of the first people that I met when I started working with the naturopaths. Now she's a part-time executive director for Women in Nutraceuticals, of which I'm on the board. So my relationships like that, I keep close and long. And I would still have Bob in my life if he were still alive. But his wife and I are still very good friends.
Yes. And this is exactly what happens. These mentors become not just your coaches and leaders, but they also become your friends, and where you can share and build a bond of trust, and be able to, take that knowledge of what they have learned and fast track your life, and then pass on that torch to the people now coming into our industry. And if there's if there's one thing that you've learned, along your trip, in your journey, is there something you want to share with the listeners out there, the biggest takeaway from what you've experienced so far up to now?
I think I can sort of sum it up in that you never shut down an opportunity. I mean, you can say no, obviously, and people say no all the time to opportunity, and wisely often. And yet, so just by virtue of the fact that I have been so willing to take on things that I didn't know anything about, whether it was naturopathic medicine, whether it was pet supplements, whether it was how the hell to define natural, which was our original goal. Once you get in there and you start to own it yourself and put your own stripes on it and do your own creative thinking around these issues, you will learn quickly how well suited you are or are not, and if you're genuine and honest with yourself, you can build a world that makes a difference and brings you joy, and it's not always going to be easy. So when we started ONN, our goal, this is a really good example, our goal was to define natural way before the government decided to do it.
Yeah. And
we made a big splash on that. Nobody thought we needed to exist anyway. There was a lot of problem with that. And after 18 months, I had to come out and publicly say, no way to define natural. I mean, we worked hard. And I had a press person say to me, was that hard? And I thought, oh, you have no idea how hard that was. And then I got to sit and watch the feds try and do it, which was amazingly humorous because I knew all of the things that were going to happen and how it was going to fall. What that did for ONN was give us an opportunity to completely reframe who we are and what we do. And that really explains the longevity and the fact that we're celebrating our 10th year of existence this year.
Yeah. For listeners out there, Karen, ONN is Organic and Natural. And Karen is the executive director of the Organic and Natural Association. And we had the pleasure of welcoming her and some of the members at the wild blueberry harvest a couple of weeks ago at Fruit Dior, and I've just when you're talking about defining natural, for the listeners out there is no definition of natural, is there today?
There is not, and there never will be.
So is there an alternative other than natural that we can call it?
Yeah, I mean, we have lots of certifications, right? So we have regenerative, we have biodynamic, we have organic, and we can live in that construct. When people were trying to define natural, including us, I mean, and issue a seal, it just became very clear that it was too nebulous, and that's fine. So understand that I believe, and I think we would all agree on the board of Organic and Natural Health, that there are multiple ways to serve the earth and do it and extract what we need for human health that also serve the ground that we're taking it from. And yes, that includes those other certifications. So it's not natural.
Yeah, well, again, for those who don't know Karen Howard, as well as as myself and some others, you're breaking down barriers here, and this is what you've done all your life, and you've been championing our industry for higher quality standards. You've been out there waving the flag, that good is just not good enough, that we have to self-regulate, that we have to go out there and do a better job of what we're doing. And we look at these organizations that are out there. It's like we have to keep them going somehow, and this is a big concern. I know you brought that to my attention. Down the road in 5 years, when we have a vision of our industry, how do you see this industry in 5 years from now, and what would you like to accomplish within those 5 years? Right?
If I could wave if I could wave my magic wand, I would take all the statistics and the sales stats and I would turn them on their head. I would want a different curve that showed that we were not just selling to middle income white women between the ages of 35 and 65, which is basically what we do. I would translate that power, and I would start doing everything in my possible, and we have done a lot of work around this, in terms of being able to serve other populations. I think we do disservice when it comes to women's research and women's products, but, that's why we created Women in Nutraceuticals. Hopefully that will start to change that. But where I think we are still woefully inadequate is what we are able to do in terms of serving minority populations. So we've started we work with college kids who are raising money for scholarships at HBCUs, historical black colleges and universities. ONN has raised, around $65,000, I think, which to me is a pittance. You compare that to what we've done with Vitamin Angels, and I'm embarrassed. So that would be that's always kind of where my passion is taking us to the next level. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world, to change the dynamic of sales, but it's important to ONN. It's certainly important to me.
Yeah, well, your passion, I can definitely hear through your voice, and you can't have a better champion than yourself, who's trying to break the ice and, the barriers and create higher standards of not just of quality amongst products out there in the industry, but people. And getting and agriculturally sustainability, right? And making things healthier out there. So another question I do have, that I think our listeners would really enjoy hearing, is about your inspiration, about the book that you wrote, Upset is Optional, right? Because I think we're going to go to a commercial break soon, and then after we'll talk about your book. But I'm thinking that if you can let the people know what inspired you to write that book, and who helped you write that book to get it off.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we hold that thought? We'll do our commercial breaks, and then we come back on the other side. So Karen, hold that thought real quick. We are going to be right back. You're listening to Stephen Lukawski, and my name is Peter Mingils. We're here on KISC My Health Radio Show. Here we go. I think when I push a button, it's supposed to work. Hold on.
Thanks for listening to the KISC My Health Radio Show series on Building Fortunes Radio. This episode is brought to you by the Cranberry King, also known as Captain Cran Man. Universally recognized Stephen Lukawski. If you manufacture or distribute a product in the dietary supplement industry, you should check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the Building Fortunes Radio guest page. Reach out to Stephen. For over 30 years, he has brought a balance of helping companies grow their businesses while contributing to the health and well-being of others. Make sure you check us out on your mobile devices, in your car, or your computer, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can go directly to www.KISCMyHealth.com for previous episodes. The KISC My Health Radio Show can be heard on any device you have connected to the internet. Go directly to www.KISCMyHealth.com. So spread the word, tell a friend about today's KISC My Health Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Now back to the show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back. Peter Mingils here with Stephen Lukawski, special guest Karen Howard. And for those people listening in, we definitely need to have Karen back. Stephen, we have to have Karen back. As she's speaking, she's dropping some words that I'm like, oh my gosh, or some stories, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to hear more about that. I need to hear more about that. There's a whole story there. She just dropped it like it was a phrase in a sentence. There's a whole story there that would be riveting. So for anybody listening in, make sure you check out the book she's going to mention and any podcast that she ever does, because there's a wealth of information here. And Karen, I really appreciate you being our first guest on Stephen's radio show, the KISC My Health. So back to you, Stephen.
Yes. Well, when I saw the title, Upset is Optional, I thought, okay, I got to wrap my head around this. What's this mean? And you really got to dive into your book, Karen, to understand your message. And I would like, first of all, to ask you how, introduce you to the book, but how did you come up with the name Upset is Optional?
Well, it's one of the many practices that my mentor, Bob Duggan, who is the founder of the first accredited acupuncture school in the country here on the East Coast, it happens to be. So it was one of the many practices that we learned in a master's program that I was in. And I was on the floor of Supply Side West a few years back, well, now probably 6 years ago, and got news that Bob had died. And fairly unexpectedly. He had been in the hospital, but no one had expected that. And I can remember it, like, those places and times and those moments, and I remember that moment very much. And one of the things, the conversations that we had last had when I was at his house was about my marriage. And he had looked at me as I was doing my usual complaining and said, Karen, I think it's time to find a new story. And when I got word of his passing, I immediately committed to writing a book about the practices that he had taught us in his last iteration of his work, which was a little different than what we studied at Thai Sophia. And I ended up using those practices to leave my marriage very successfully. That was my inspiration. And that's all in the book. Yeah, that's all in the book.
Yeah. Okay. And how can people find your book right now if they want to?
You can go to upsetisoptional.com, and so there's a website there. You can learn more about Bob and some of the work that he did, and it links you directly to Amazon to purchase the book.
So I believe there's 10 chapters in your book, and
yes.
And you've got some really good reviews and testimonials from people in our industry, and it's sort of, this book is a roadmap for to learn how you can balance your career with family and your personal life, and how to have a rich, rewarding, fulfilling life, and how to deal with, but you need to deal with that stress. And
it's a very practical book. I mean, it's not philosophical. It's about the fact that when you're upset, your body responds, and people get ulcers. I used to get ulcers.
Yeah.
And so to be able to learn the practices is actually, it's a physical task. It's physical work. It's not all mental work, which I think is one of the most unique things about it.
Yeah. And one of your chapters is on listening. And I think it's so powerful when we just stop and let somebody else talk and listen to what they have to say. And I think when we listen, we learn. And when we learn, all right, we never stop learning. And so, you want to talk a little bit about that chapter on the listening side in your book?
Yeah. I mean, deep listening is very different than inactive listening. So you can be watching the evening news and you're listening, but you're not deeply listening. You're not parsing words usually, unless you're me and you're watching something political. So the construct of having like sitting around a meeting table or a board table and actually waiting for your chance to talk means that you're not actively listening to what's being said. And as you practice that and you're actually hearing, listening, really listening, the first thing you're going to start to have is questions, not comments. So it changes the value of the conversation. And when it doesn't happen, you'll see the conversation start to go south. I see it. I still see it all the time. And all of these things require practice. I don't think anybody should read the book and assume that just by reading it, they're going to have it figured out. I continually have to be. My kids are great reminders for me. And when they look at me and go, upset is optional, and throw it in my face. And I appreciate that reminder all the time. So I think this deep listening concept it's really important in personal relationships. I mean, that seems kind of obvious. But the ability to sit and actually be in your body and relax and listen is very different than engaging in an active conversation like we're so used to.
Yeah, I think you're right. We have to listen to our body, and we talk about body, soul, and mind, but listening to our body and being able to express through I guess what Peter was saying all the time, in the inner circle of our body, to be able to deal with the stress that's out there. And it's so. This is a challenge I think a lot of people face: is how do we deal with adversity? How do we deal with the stress in our life every day, not just with work, but with everyday life issues? And I'm doing a lot of work on that right now, helping people get through the political dynamics that we have around this presidential election, and talking to many people on the radio and in print about how to use the practices in a situation where your family may be at odds again. I mean, go back, 8 years when people couldn't sit around the Thanksgiving table. I mean, we're close to that again, if not there. And so how do you use these practices to be able to listen without reacting and getting upset and then ruining the entire conversation that you're supposed to be having with your sister-in-law or your brother or whatever the case may be? So as I get ready to go to Missouri for my little vacation, I'm headed into a certain political dynamic, and they're all just waiting for me. Here's the liberal from D.C. So, I'll be using all my practices, and it's disarming, and it opens up possibility, and people relax around very tense conversations. Yeah. Well, this is, I take it this book is not just for, for everyone every day, but it's also for leaders, in the transformational of leadership. Right, how to be great, extraordinary leaders, not good leaders, but extraordinary leaders, leading by example, right? And because they are dealing with stress all the time, right? And usually it's usually the numbers, right, that causes the stress, or the culture in a work environment that causes the stress, right? But in terms of effective leadership styles, right? Is there something in your book that people can take away from that to actually become more an effective leader?
So the thing I love about this book is that you will gravitate towards a practice and kind of fall in love with it, and you'll practice it more and more and more. And the one that gets me up in the morning and keeps me going and kind of keeps me honest with myself is acknowledgement. And that's the last practice of the book. So, just as people read it, they should, kind of selectively kind of feel what seems to work for them as they begin to practice. Mm-hmm. But with acknowledgement, for me, that is, and the book speaks to this, that is serving 7 generations, which is a Native American cultural issue. Mm-hmm. And when I learned this, that I could actually do work that honored 3 generations that came before me and served 3 coming that I might never know, as long as I stood in my place in honor of that in that 7th generation, that I was successful. So when I was the president of a water bottle company, And I discovered that all the creative energy we thought we were going to be able to spend on this water bottling company was just all about selling bottled water. I realized I was never going to be successful because that's not my MO. That doesn't serve 7 generations for me. So as long as I'm in that space, I can do anything and nothing will stop me. But that's the one I go to.
That's, well, the acknowledgement, and that's chapter 10 in the book. The way I'm looking at this, getting it to, knowing you is one thing, getting to know you is another. And spending time with you away from the trade shows and seeing you on a different center stage, like this, the real Karen Howard, the personal side, right? I embrace that because that's real quality time. All right, I saw your leadership skills as we traveled on that bus ride and how long it took and how things weren't organized. It was on paper organized, but we just let things happen. And I saw the fact, you rise as a star, that we're going to let it happen. And we're not going to worry about things we can't control. Right? And we're going to take accountability, and we are going to come back and be better people for being on this trip and learn something and grow. As individuals. But you brought a team together. And the people you brought together, you united them. And this was inspiring to see, that people trust you. They depend on you. They gravitate towards your energy. And for those who never played golf with Karen, I just want you to know that you can really learn a lot about a person on the golf course. I think every interview should happen on the golf course. Right?
This is true.
Because, a bad golf shot did not, and the weather did not, and the company did not, influence your ability to say, I'm going to take the positive, I'm going to look at the good from all this, and I'm going to enjoy my time. And you did. Even after a bad shot, it doesn't matter. Pick up the ball, hit it again. And that's what we do in life. And you've shown that here. And this is why you're a champion. And amongst all these organizations, and why you're leaders, a leader in the industry, and why people want you, in the center stage, because you're like that orchestra conductor. You put all the talent around you, and you get them to play beautiful music together, and that's what this industry needs. Is beautiful music. We all are talented. We're all special. We're all unique, but you have a gift of being able to bring that out in other people. And I saw that, and I thank you so much for that.
Oh, that's very generous. Thank you, Stephen.
So just, and as we move forward and we have more superhero celebrities coming on, Karen is basically, she's sort of that leader in the, I'll call her, the industry champion, the trailblazer, that has set the bar so high that others can only grow and learn from your accomplishments. And this is the beauty of having you come onto the show and be the first voice that inspires others to want to join this show and give their story and go over their journey and help others who are coming in this industry become, their own champions and create their own footprints in the sand. So thank you so much. And I'm really proud of what you've done, and I think this is a really good time to ask you, in terms of inspirational quotes, if there's anything out there that you want to leave behind for people to listen to, they can take away, and look in the first thing in the mirror in the morning, and I remember Karen Howard's show. This is what she said. Is there anything that comes to your mind that you want to share with the audience?
I mean, I just have to tell you, in the elegance of keeping it simple, stupid, I live upset is optional all the time. And it changes how I feel in my body. Just like when I wake up in the morning and I design my mood to be peaceful and I fall out of it, which happens often during the day, I continue to go back to upset is optional. And sometimes my best friends have to remind me, and sometimes my kids do, but not one for a lot of, flowery. I say that and then I write poetry, but the reality is that I think that this has made the most distinct impact in my life of all the things that I've done is writing this book.
So it's really I see your pathway here. And I think maybe one of the messages I like is the fact that it doesn't matter. You don't have to go fast in life. You can go slow in life. Just don't stop, right? And this is what you've shown, all right? You're not stopping. You're still going, and you're slowing down to appreciate and enjoy the moments, right? And your success along the way. And then that's something I can see in your work that you're doing, and why people should join your organization, whether it's WIN, that you're involved in, which for the people out there, Karen, it stands for Women in
Nutraceuticals.
Right. And then you're executive director of ONN, which stands for
the Organic and Natural Health Association.
We go. And those are two organizations for our listeners that they should strongly consider joining, right, and participating and marching forward, raising the bar, not just for the quality of the products out there in the industry, the natural product industry, but also for the quality of life. Because this is all about personal relationships. It's recognizing and helping others. Right? This is not about the numbers. This is not about the chase of the dollars. This is about helping and growing and learning together. And Karen Howard, thank you so much for being our first guest on this show, KISC My Health. And I wish everybody out there a fantastic day, and hoping that tomorrow the world's a better place if you made a difference in it. Thank you for listening, everybody. And thank you, Karen, for coming on the show. And if there's anything you'd like to say at the end, right here with the audience, it's your time.
No reason to be a fear of love in the workplace. No reason to think that you can't love your job and the people that you work for. It'll enhance everything that you do. And I really think that's the glue that keeps organic and natural health moving forward. We're small, we're mighty, we're designed to be lean. But honestly, at the end of the day, I think we just all really love being together in what we create. And I'm never going to run from that again.
Well, don't run, Karen. Your journey is only beginning. Your best years are ahead of you. And I'm so proud that you were able to be on the show and have accepted the invite. And thank you so much for making a difference in this world, breaking down the barriers for others behind you to follow.
Thank
everybody,
you,
Karen Howard, all right, from executive director of the Organic and Natural Association, involved in the WIN, Women in Nutraceuticals. She's changing the world one day at a time. Thank you so much, Karen, for that.
Thank you.
Perfect. And for those people listening in, we're going to make sure that Karen has a guest page on Building Fortunes Radio, which means when you go to Building Fortunes Radio, you'll be able to find the guest Karen Howard. We'll make sure that the organizations she's associated with, the book that she wrote, and all the other things that she does is listed there, so you'll be able to make sure that you don't lose contact with Karen Howard. Karen, thanks for being here, and we're going to catch everybody next week on Building Fortunes Radio, the KISC My Health Radio Show.
You've been listening to the KISC My Health Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio. Thanks for listening. This KISC My Health Radio Show is brought to you by Stephen Lukawski. Stephen is known as the Cranberry King, universally known as Captain Cran Man. Stephen has over 30 years of experience working with manufacturers and marketers of dietary supplements and natural ingredients to make this world a healthier and a better place. You can check out Stephen Lukawski on LinkedIn and on the KISCMyHealth.com website. We are glad you listened in. Spread the word and check out previous KISC My Health Radio episodes. Bye for now. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for. Now go make the world a better place.